Hi, welcome to High Road 2. This is Mark Stofer, and we're going to the end of the year, and I want to inspire and encourage everyone listening to this that, when taxes are due, reaching too far can be very, very unhealthy. Bad debt kills good things. And so I want to tell you and inspire you basically to have the courage to really understand, where you're at with your finances. And this is why. I had two family members that lost everything in their late 50s. In fact, my uncle was in his 30s. So the story that will, I hope, reach your heart and your mind is that my uncle was a mechanic, and he had many cars in front of his house, and he was always working on cars, and he had a lifestyle that didn't align with his tax returns. So there was an audit, and they weren't prepared for that. And in their 50s, they moved in with both their parents. It destroyed the family financially. And, my uncle moved in with his mom, and then my aunt moved in with my grandmother, her mom. And it was devastating. I remember just, seeing this lifestyle that they carried for many years, and then it all came crashing down. It was like a house of cards. And then my uncle, this is more important to me, and what really instilled in me to have a good accountant and a good CPA and really be accountable. And that was that my uncle was audited by the IRS, and he had a lifestyle that he couldn't justify. And so essentially he was really, really desperate. So he went to my grandmother, who then said, hey, your cousins, they own a shop, and they can put you on the books and, reach out to them. So he did. And, they wanted nothing to do with it. And my uncle had a reputation. He didn't want to cross paths with my uncle. And he was so desperate. And I remember that he came over to the house, and he was pacing back and forth, and he was, my grandmother was like, settle down. And my other uncle, my great uncle, said something, and he lost it, grabbed him by the throat, and, he was just going to break his neck. And it was really, really traumatic. And my grandmother was pulling him off, like, please stop, and I remember he grabbed my brother and I, and he put us on the stairs, and he said, you got to get out of here. You take care of your mom. And it was just, he could sense, that things were not going to end well. And we were young at that time, and I didn't understand at the time, but I didn't know the full story until I read about it in a book, in the Name of My Father. Is a book that was written about my uncle and his involvement with just bad people in the Central Valley. In any regard, he called this shop, and he says, you're going to put me on the books, and you don't have a say in the matter. So they told him, please, leave us alone. And then he got upset, and he was coming down to basically stiff arm him. What my uncle and my grandmother did not understand, they were ignorant to the fact that you can't amend years and years of tax returns. They could not help him. There was no way that they can fabricate, the kinds of documents that he would need to justify his lifestyle and what he was doing. So he went down there, and in their defense, they shot him and killed him. And so, what instilled in me was that, bad debt kills good things. And it's just not worth it. You have to really, really consider the true cost. And so we're in business, and, my partners might want to get creative, financially with the accounting. And I have a CPA, I have a CFO, and I have people that I trust that I can run these things by and say, are entities structured properly? And if we were an S Corp or a C Corp or an LLC, like, how can we structure entities so that we can be in compliance with tax law? So I have tax attorneys, and so I have a resource of very expert professional people that would help us orchestrate what is required. But in business, when they're coming to me, and I believe God speaks through people. If people don't know each other, and they're in different environments telling you essentially the same thing, you better listen. So that's my strongest advice to anybody and everybody that is navigating, creative financing and, a second set of books. There is truly a true cost. And sometimes it's real subtle at first, but then it escalates to something that's really serious. And my CFO says, you get audited and then you're on the radar where you get audited over and over again. And I do know somebody that does very, very well, and he feels like he's being harassed by the IRS because they did an audit. Now he's just stressed out like crazy, hiring tax attorneys, fighting all of these claims that they're saying that he didn't do his taxes right. So, and I just asked, was it worth it? He goes, absolutely not. No. So that's my advice to you is, stay within the boundaries of what is not questionable. And it's one thing, speeding, right? Everybody's going to go to the flow of traffic. Nobody has to go, like, if the speed limit's 55, or let's just say it's 65, and that the flow of traffic is 70, and to get onto that road, you have to, go the flow of traffic to merge into that. And then as you continue on, stay in the slow lane, you can get away with 65, but everybody's going to be getting around you at 70, 75. But there's a certain point where it's just not worth going 80, 90 miles an hour. I don't care if you're a, Indy 500, race car driver. It doesn't matter, because when you're on the track, you don't have pedestrians, you have other cars, you don't have all these other elements that are happening, no matter what kind of car you're in and what kind of experience you have, in the world off of the race track. It's a set of rules that everybody has to kind of navigate. And, you have to know that you can handle, that speed. And so that you're going to be in compliance, where if you get pulled over, you say, well, I was going the flow of traffic. I wasn't racing around the flow of traffic to get ahead. I was going the flow of traffic. And I don't think that anybody can really give you a ticket for that. So with the IRS, they say, okay, well, are you within bounds of what is reasonable for, doing your tax returns? And if you get a ticket, it's not the end of the world, right? So it's not reckless driving. Okay, so there's a point where you got to draw the line, and especially have partners. So I hope this reaches your heart and your mind. And yeah, those were real stories of family members that I loved that went through a horrific, and I thought, was it worth it? If you think about the gain, like, okay, well, what was not so much the gain, but what was the loss? People think only about the gain. They don't consider the loss. And that's the bigger price you pay. And so with that, I hope this message finds you well. It's boundaries and love. And, bad debt kills good things. With that, take care now.